lovely people, and welcome to Live Untangled, the channel I use to provide life and mindset tips to grow your soul and help you live untangled. My name is Jody McQueary, and I'm the mindfulness coach at Untangled Collective. In this video, I'm including a portion of my workshop that I titled You Should Not Should, where I explain why using the word should is not only ineffective, but how it can also be quite damaging and demotivating. This workshop was originally presented via Zoom, so it's going to jump right into the middle of the presentation for you. But if you have any questions or you'd like to know more, feel free to check out the links I've included below, or as always, reach out to me personally if you have more specific questions or if you'd like to schedule a clarity call to find out what living untangled is all about. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, because life is too short to be stuck and tangled up. Let's live untangled and let's grow. Here are some reasons why shoulding is ineffective and unhelpful. Number one, it keeps you stuck. When you are in a place where you find yourself what you should be doing, then you're also probably asking if you shouldn't be doing it. It's very difficult to make a decision when you're factoring in all the shoulds, because not only do you have your own internal manual that you're running it against, but you're also thinking about what other people might think. So would they think that I ought to do this? What would their opinions be? As a result, that also gets us into the places of resentment. It gets us really critical and causes judgment. This is one that I've really found to be true. When you are in a place of should, then you are really quieting your own inner voice and that inner wisdom. And so it dulls your intuition, because you're trying to think of what the best case scenario would be, or am I doing the right thing? When really, when you get super familiar and tuned in with your own spirit, then you're able to see what steps are next for you, without trying to figure out, again, what everyone else might think or what the quote unquote right thing to do is. And ultimately, over the long run, should does contribute to anxiety and even depression, because shoulds are basically negative thought patterns that we have on repeat. And those thought patterns lead to cognitive distortions, right? So we're saying one thing, but in our minds, we're saying another. And so we develop this weird perception of ourselves where the gap between our actual self and our ideal self gets bigger and bigger, instead of really kind of reconciling the two. So according to the dictionary, should is a verb that's used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness. And it's typically when criticizing someone's actions. And I know what you might be thinking. You're like, I'm not criticizing anyone. I just know what they should do next, right? A lot of times, and what we're going to focus on for the majority of tonight's talk, is you're actually criticizing yourself. And it goes both ways, right? We criticize ourselves, and as a result, we criticize others. We judge others, and as a result, we're really judging ourselves. Human relationships are just a mirror. I'm holding up a mirror to you at all times, and you're reflecting that image back to me. And so when you have a really hard time with someone else's behavior, odds are it's triggering something inside of you, either something that you haven't quite fully reconciled, or something inside of you that you also have a hard time accepting. That's a story for another day. But I did want to highlight two parts of this definition. One is the obligation piece, and then the other one is the criticizing piece. When we do things out of obligation, it is always, always the bedrock for resentment. And so even when it just feels like the right thing to do, if you haven't lined up your motivation and then you don't get the result that you want in the end, then that's where we start seeing resentment kind of rear its ugly head. And the critical part, again, like I said already, You want to make sure that you're really tuning in, because you might not be saying should out loud, right? You might not say out loud what you think someone should or ought to do, but odds are you are holding them and looking at them through the lens of your own human handbook. And this is something I talk to people about all the time. We talk about it in every single lesson of the Feel Better About Anything course. The human handbook is this manual that we make, and we internalize it, right? Like, we don't intentionally set up this book, but this is the book that we think everyone would be better off if they lived by these rules, right? Everyone would be better off if they behaved in this way. Most of the time, our human handbook is the standards that we hold ourselves to. So essentially what we're saying is the world would be a better place if everyone just thought, felt, and behaved like me, right? Anything that goes outside of the human handbook then becomes something that we criticize. And I want to emphasize again that the amount of compassion that you give yourself will always infuse that same compassion into others. And it will be very, very difficult to let other people off the hook if you're not letting your own self off the hook as well.
Thanks so much for watching that short preview to the workshop that I have called You Should Not Should. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope that you are inspired to look at ways that you might be shoulding on your own self. I spend time in the rest of the workshop really diving into how and why we can replace should with words and intentions that don't create such a sense of obligation or duty. And I tell you how to approach your goals and the things that you want to work on in your life from a place of desire and enthusiasm. So feel free to check out the workshop at the link below, or follow me on Instagram at untangled.collective. Subscribe to my channel for life and mindset tips that help you grow your soul and live untangled. Until next time.